The day my mother threatened to take away my home started like any other Thursday, with my sister London calling to dump her latest crisis in my lap. I'd been elbow-deep in paperwork at my desk when my phone lit up with her name. My name is Robin, and I've spent 32 years being the family fixer, the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who's always there to clean up everyone else's messes. "Robin, I need you to watch the kids tonight," London's voice crackled through the speaker. Not hello, not how are you, just straight to what she needed. Chad and I have this really important dinner with his boss, and our regular sitter cancelled. I glanced at the stack of reports I needed to finish by tomorrow. "London, I can't. I have a major deadline." "Oh, come on, you always say that. What could be so important? You're just pushing papers around." My coworker Reed looked up from his desk, raising an eyebrow at my expression. He'd heard enough of these conversations to know exactly who was on the phone. "Actually, I'm preparing quarterly projections that—" "Mom already said you'd do it," London interrupted. "We're dropping the kids off at 6. The line went dead before I could protest. I dropped my head into my hands with a groan. "Your sister again?" Reed asked, rolling his chair over. "You know, you are allowed to say no sometimes." "You don't know my family," I sighed. "Besides, I live in Grandma Trisha's house. Mom never lets me forget that she could contest the will if she wanted to." "That's manipulation and you know it," Reed said firmly. "Your grandmother left you that house because she wanted you to have it." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from Mum. "Family dinner tonight, 7 p.m. sharp. Need to discuss something important." "Perfect," I muttered, because this day wasn't complicated enough already. The family dinner was exactly what I'd expected. Mom holding court at the head of the table while London dominated the conversation. I pushed my untouched lasagna around my plate, trying to tune out my sister's lengthy commentary about her husband's latest promotion. "And that brings me to our big announcement," Mom said, setting down her wine glass. "London and Chad are finally ready to buy their dream home." "That's wonderful," I said automatically, though something in Mom's tone made my stomach clench. "The thing is," London jumped in, "we need a slightly larger down payment than we expected. Mom suggested we could sell this house." My fork clattered against the plate. "Sell the house? Grandma's house? But she left it to me." "Don't be selfish, Robin," Mom cut in sharply. "This is about what's best for the whole family. London has children to think about. Besides, you're just rattling around in this big place by yourself." "I'm not being selfish," I protested, my voice shaking. "This is my home. Grandma wanted—" "What your grandmother wanted," Mom spoke over me, "was for this family to support each other. And right now, your sister needs our support. Unless you'd rather I take a closer look at the terms of that will." The threat hung in the air between us. I stared at my mother, really seeing her for the first time. The calculated gleam in her eyes, the satisfied curl of her lips. She'd been planning this ambush all along. London reached across the table to pat my hand. "Don't worry, we'll find you a cute little apartment somewhere. And this way you'll be closer to help with the kids." I pulled my hand away, my grandmother's words echoing in my memory. "Stand up for yourself, little bird. Don't let them clip your wings." "I need some air," I managed, pushing back from the table. Neither of them tried to stop me as I fled to the back porch, where I'd spent countless hours with Grandma Trisha in her final years. The cool evening air helped clear my head, but it couldn't wash away the bitter taste of betrayal. Through the kitchen window, I could hear Mom and London already discussing paint colors and renovation plans, as if my cooperation was a foregone conclusion. My phone buzzed. A text from Reed. "How's the family dinner going?" I typed back, "They want to sell my house out from under me to finance London's new mansion." His response was immediate. "Time to fight back." I looked up at the stars, remembering how Grandma and I used to sit out here naming constellations. She'd always told me I was stronger than I knew. Maybe it was time to prove her right. "Yes," I texted back. "I think it is." The next morning, my phone started ringing at 6 a.m. London. I let it go to voicemail, but she called again. and again. By the fourth call, I knew ignoring her wouldn't make her go away. "What?" I answered, still lying in bed. "Finally, I need you to take the kids to school today. Chad has an early meeting, and I have a hair appointment I absolutely cannot miss." Something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the lingering anger from last night's ambush, or maybe it was 32 years of being a doormat finally reaching their expiration date. "No," I said firmly. "What do you mean, no?" London's voice rose an octave. "You always take them when I ask. That's the problem, isn't it?" I sat up, suddenly wide awake. "I always do everything you ask. And now you and Mum think you can just take my house." "Oh my God, are you still upset about that? Don't be so dramatic. It's just a house." "It's my house," I cut her off. "Grandma left it to me. Not you, not Mom, me." "Well, Mum says—" "I don't care what Mum says," I interrupted again, surprising myself with the steel in my voice. "Find another babysitter. I'm done." I hung up before she could respond, my hands shaking but my mind clearer than it had been in years. Within minutes, my phone exploded with texts from both London and Mom. "London, you're being ridiculous." "Mom, call your sister back immediately." "London, the kids are crying now." "Thanks a lot." "Mom, we need to talk. Come over now." I switched my phone to silent and got ready for work. By the time I reached the office, there were 17 missed calls. "You look different today," Reed said as I settled at my desk. "Good different." I said no, I told him, unable to keep the smile off my face. For the first time in my life, I actually said no to them. "About time." He grinned, but then his expression turned serious. "You know they're not going to let it go that easily, right?" He was right. Mum was waiting in my driveway when I got home that evening, her luxury SUV blocking my garage. "Finally," she said as I got out of my car, "we've been trying to reach you all day. This behavior is completely unacceptable." "My behavior?" I laughed incredulously. "You're trying to steal my house, and my behavior is unacceptable?" "Don't be dramatic," she waved her hand dismissively. "We're trying to do what's best for the family. London always needs something," I cut in, "and I'm always expected to give it to her. Well, not anymore." Mom's eyes narrowed. "I raised you better than this selfishness. If your grandmother could see you now." "Grandma would be proud of me for finally standing up for myself." My voice echoed off the garage door. "She left me this house because she wanted me to have something that was just mine. Something you in London couldn't take away. Is that what you think?" Mom's voice turned dangerous. "Because I have copies of all the legal documents, Robin. One call to our lawyer about your grandmother's mental state in her final months. Are you threatening to contest Grandma's will?" I stared at her in disbelief. "Your own mother's last wishes?" "I'm trying to protect this family," she said coldly. "You have until the end of the week to agree to the sale, or I'll have no choice but to take legal action. And trust me, you don't want that." She turned on her heel and stalked back to her car, leaving me standing in the driveway with my heart pounding. As her taillights disappeared around the corner, I fumbled for my phone and called Reed. "They're really going to try to take it," I said when he answered, my voice cracking. "Mom's threatening to contest the will." "Don't give up yet," he said firmly. "There has to be something we can do. Didn't you say your grandmother was sharp as a tack until the end?" "She was," I said slowly, remembering those final months. "She used to say she had everything planned out, that she'd made sure I'd be okay." "Then maybe she left you more than just the house," Reed suggested. "Have you gone through all her papers, all her belongings?" I looked up at the house, my house, thinking about the boxes of Grandma's things still stored in the attic. "No, not everything. I couldn't face it after she died." "Well," Reed said, "sounds like it's time for some late-night treasure hunting. Want backup?" For the first time since Mum's threat, I felt a glimmer of hope. "Yes, please, and bring coffee. We might be here a while." Reed arrived 30 minutes later with 2 large coffees and a determined look in his eyes. We headed straight for the attic, switching on the dusty overhead light that cast long shadows across stacks of cardboard boxes and old furniture. "Where do we start?" Reed asked, handing me a coffee. "These boxes here," I pointed to a neat row labeled "Important Papers" in Grandma's precise handwriting. She was incredibly organized. If she left anything for me to find, it would be in these. We settled on the attic floor, carefully going through each box. Tax records, old photographs, Christmas cards, everything meticulously sorted and dated. "Your grandmother didn't mess around with her filing system," Reed commented, leafing through a folder. "She used to say that good records were a woman's best defense," I said, then froze as something caught my eye. "Wait." At the bottom of the third box, I found an envelope with my name on it, tucked inside her old jewelry box, the one she'd always kept locked when she was alive. The key had been on her nightstand when she died. "Look at this," I whispered, holding up the envelope. My hands trembled as I opened it. "My dearest Robin," I read aloud, "if you're reading this, then your mother and sister are probably trying to take what's rightfully yours. I knew this day would come. I've watched them manipulate you your entire life, always taking, never giving back. But I've prepared for this moment." Reed leaned forward. "What else does it say?" "There's more," I continued reading. "I've left something with Terence, my attorney, something your mother doesn't know about. Go to him and ask about the video will. Tell him the little bird is ready to fly. He'll understand." "A video will?" Reed's eyebrows shot up. "That's huge. When was the letter dated?" I checked the bottom of the page. 2 weeks before she died, but that's not all. "Look at this." I pulled out an old photograph that had been tucked into the envelope. It showed Grandma sitting in her favorite armchair, holding up a newspaper dated just days before her death. She was smiling directly at the camera, looking alert and vibrant. "She knew," I whispered. "She knew Mom would try to claim she wasn't mentally competent. This photo proves she was." "Smart woman," Reed said admiringly. "But what's this?" He pointed to something written on the back of the photo, in the same careful handwriting. "Remember the blue vase, little bird?" I jumped to my feet so quickly I almost spilled my coffee. "The blue vase? How could I forget?" I practically ran down the attic stairs, Reed close behind me. In the living room, on the highest shelf of the bookcase, sat an antique blue vase that Grandma had always treasured. She never let anyone touch it, I explained, carefully lifting it down. Said it was too valuable. As I tilted the vase, something rattled inside. Reaching in, my fingers touched paper. "Another letter?" Reed asked. "No." I pulled out a small USB drive wrapped in a note. "Even better." The note read, "Backup copy of the video will, just in case Terence's copy mysteriously disappears." "You always were my clever girl." "Your grandmother was a genius," Reed said, shaking his head in amazement. "She thought of everything." I clutched the USB drive like a lifeline. "I need to call Terence first thing in the morning. Mom gave me until the end of the week, but I'm not waiting. I want to know what's on this video." "Want me to come with you?" Reed offered. "For moral support." I nodded gratefully. "Please. I have a feeling I'm going to need it." My phone buzzed, another text from London. "Mum's really upset. Just give in already. It's not like you need all this space anyway." I showed the message to Reed, who scowled. "They really don't get it, do they? This isn't about the space." "No," I agreed, looking around at the home my grandmother had left me. "It's about 32 years of giving in, but Grandma knew. She knew I'd need help standing up to them eventually." I typed out a response to London. "Sorry, but this house isn't for sale, ever." Then I turned my phone off completely and set it aside. Tomorrow would bring whatever it would bring, but tonight, for the first time since this whole mess started, I felt ready to face it. "Thank you," I said to Reed as he gathered his things to leave. "For helping me look, for believing in me." He smiled. "Your grandmother believed in you too. Maybe it's time you started believing in yourself." As I locked up after him, I touched the USB drive in my pocket. Tomorrow, I'd find out exactly what Grandma had planned. And for once, I couldn't wait to face my family. Terence's law office hadn't changed since the day we'd all gathered for the will reading. The same leather chairs, the same dusty law books, the same slight scent of coffee and old paper. Reed sat beside me as Terence reviewed the letter and examined the USB drive. Ah, Terence's eyes lit up at the phrase, "The little bird is ready to fly." I've been waiting for this day. He walked to a filing cabinet, unlocked the bottom drawer, and pulled out a sealed envelope and a DVD case. Your grandmother was quite specific about when these should be revealed. You knew about this all along, I asked. I did, and I've been keeping meticulous records of every attempt your mother and sister have made to pressure you since Trisha's death. He held up a thick folder. Your grandmother insisted on it. My mouth fell open. She had you monitoring me. Not monitoring, protecting. She knew exactly what would happen after she passed. He inserted the DVD into his computer. Are you ready to see this? I nodded, gripping Reed's hand as Terence turned the monitor toward us. The screen flickered to life, and there was Grandma, sitting in her favorite chair, looking directly into the camera. "Hello, my darling Robin," she began, her voice strong and clear. "If you're watching this, then your mother is trying to take your inheritance. I'm not surprised. She's always been jealous of our relationship, always resented that I saw through her manipulations. I felt tears welling up at the sight of her, so vital and present. Now, pay attention, because this is important," Grandma continued. "There's a special clause in my will, one that your mother doesn't know about. If anyone contests the will or attempts to coerce you into selling the house, they forfeit their own inheritance entirely. Everything, the trust fund, the investments, all of it, goes to you." "What?" I gasped. "Furthermore," Grandma's eyes twinkled with mischief, "I've documented every instance of your sacrifices for your family over the years. The vacations you cancelled to babysit, the career opportunities you passed up to help London, the money you've spent supporting them. Terence has all the records." Terence nodded, patting the thick folder. "If your mother tries to claim I wasn't competent," Grandma continued, holding up a newspaper with the date clearly visible, "this video, along with my medical records and daily journal entries, will prove otherwise. I made sure to document everything." She leaned forward, her expression serious. "Robin, my sweet girl, you've spent your whole life putting everyone else first. It stops now. This house is yours, free and clear. Don't let them bully you out of what's rightfully yours." The video continued for several more minutes, as Grandma outlined specific instances of manipulation she'd witnessed, dates, amounts of money, all meticulously documented. "One last thing," she said near the end. "In the envelope Terence has, you'll find letters I've written to both your mother and London. They detail exactly why I made these arrangements, and what I think of their treatment of you. You can choose whether to share them or not." When the video ended, the office was silent except for my quiet sniffling. Reed squeezed my hand. "There's more," Terence said, opening the folder. "Your grandmother left detailed instructions about how to proceed. Would you like to see them?" I wiped my eyes. "Yes, show me everything." For the next hour, Terence walked us through the documentation. Bank statements showing my financial support of London's family. Emails and texts proving the constant demands on my time. Medical records and witness statements confirming Grandma's mental clarity. "This is airtight," Reed whispered. "They can't touch you." "What do you want to do?" Terence asked, closing the folder. "We can send a formal notice to your mother immediately, or—" My phone buzzed. Another threatening text from Mom. "Have you made the right decision yet? Time's running out." I showed it to Terence, who raised an eyebrow. "Perfect timing. Shall we respond?" "Yes," I said, straightening my shoulders. "But not by text. Can you set up a meeting? Here, in your office? I want them to see the video themselves." "Of course. When?" I thought about Mom's end-of-week deadline. "Tomorrow, before they can make any legal moves of their own." "I'll arrange it," Terence said, reaching for his phone. "And Robin, your grandmother would be very proud of you right now." As we left the office, Reed turned to me. "Are you ready for this?" I touched the envelope containing Grandma's letters to Mom and London. "You know what? I really am." For the first time in my life, I'm not afraid of them. Good, he smiled, because tomorrow's going to be interesting. Tomorrow, I agreed, everything changes. I spent that evening reading and rereading Grandma's letters to Mom in London. Each word was like a sword of truth, cutting through decades of manipulation. When my phone rang at 9 p.m., I wasn't surprised to see London's name. "Where have you been?" she demanded. "Mum's been trying to reach you all day." "I've been busy," I replied calmly. "Actually, I'm glad you called. There's a meeting tomorrow at Terrence's office, 10 a.m. sharp." "A meeting? What meeting?" "About the house. Bring Mum." "Finally!" London's voice dripped with satisfaction. "I knew you'd come around. I'll tell Mum you're ready to sign." "I didn't say that," I cut her off. "Just be there." I hung up before she could respond, then turned to Reed, who was helping me organize Grandma's documentation. "They think I'm surrendering." "They're in for quite a surprise," he said, sorting through bank statements. "Look at this. You've given London over $40,000 in loans that were never repaid, plus countless hours of free childcare," I added, checking my watch. Speaking of which, right on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from London. "Since we're meeting tomorrow anyway, can you watch the kids tonight? Chad and I want to celebrate." Instead of responding immediately, I took a deep breath and snapped a photo of the bank statements showing all her unpaid loans. I sent that with the message, "No, and we need to talk about when you're planning to pay these back." The response was immediate. "That was years ago. You said those were gifts." "No, you said they were gifts. I said they were loans. We can discuss it tomorrow." I turned my phone off again and looked at Reed. That felt good. "You're getting better at this," he grinned. "Want to practice what you're going to say tomorrow?" We spent the next hour rehearsing, with Reed playing devil's advocate and throwing every possible argument my way. By the time he left, I felt prepared for whatever Mom and London might try. The next morning, I arrived at Terrence's office early. Reed came with me for support, waiting in the reception area while I met briefly with Terrence. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Terrence asked, holding the DVD. "Absolutely," I nodded. "They need to see it all." Mom and London arrived together, both dressed like they were heading to a business meeting. Mom's face was set in its usual expression of stern disapproval, while London looked smugly triumphant. "Well," Mom said as they sat down, "I'm glad you finally decided to be reasonable about this." "Actually," I replied, meeting her gaze steadily, "I have decided to be reasonable, just not in the way you think." Before she could respond, Terrence cleared his throat. "Before we proceed, I need to play something for you both." "Play something?" Mom frowned. "What is this?" "This," I said as Terrence started the DVD, "is Grandma's video will." The color drained from Mom's face as Grandma appeared on screen. London's smug smile faltered. As the video played, their expressions shifted from confusion to disbelief to growing horror. When Grandma detailed the clause about contesting the will, Mom jumped to her feet. "Turn it off. This is ridiculous." "Sit down, Deborah," Terrence said firmly. "There's more." We watched in silence as Grandma laid out her documentation of their manipulation. When she mentioned the financial records, London started to cry. "You've been keeping track of everything," she sobbed. "That's so calculating." "No," I corrected her. "That's protecting myself. Something I should have done years ago." When the video ended, Mom's hands were shaking. "This is all very touching, but it doesn't change anything. We can still contest." "Actually," Terrence interrupted, opening his folder, "it changes everything. I have here signed statements from Trisha's doctors, dated video evidence of her mental clarity, and extensive documentation of the systematic financial and emotional manipulation of Robin. If you contest the will, not only will you lose, but you'll forfeit your own inheritances, as per the clause you just witnessed." "You can't do this," Mom whispered. "I'm not doing anything," I said quietly. "I'm just finally standing up for myself. The house is mine. It's staying mine. And from now on, things are going to be very different." I pulled out Grandma's letters. She left these for you both. Read them or don't. That's up to you. But either way, we're done here. As I stood to leave, London grabbed my arm. Robin, please, you can't just... I can, I said, gently removing her hand. And I am. We'll talk again when you're ready to treat me like an equal, not a servant. I walked out of the office with my head high, hearing Mom's angry voice fade behind me. Reed was waiting in reception, concern written all over his face. How did it go? I smiled. Exactly like Grandma planned. The aftermath of the meeting was like the calm before a storm. 3 days of complete silence from both Mom and London. No calls, no texts, no surprise visits. I should have known it wouldn't last. They're planning something, Reed said over lunch at work. Your mother doesn't seem like the type to give up easily. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. It was a screenshot of a social media post from London. Heartbreaking when family members take advantage of a beloved grandmother's declining mental state for their own gain. Some people will do anything for money. And there it is, I sighed, showing Reed the phone. She's trying to turn the family against me. Good thing your grandmother left you all that evidence, he said. Want to fight fire with fire? I grinned, pulling out my own phone. I selected a clip from Grandma's video, the part where she held up the dated newspaper and discussed her medical records, and posted it with the caption, "Since some people are spreading lies, here's the truth straight from Grandma herself." Within minutes, my phone exploded with notifications. Family members I hadn't heard from in years were commenting, messaging, calling. Most were shocked, not by Grandma's mental state, but by Mom and London's behavior. Robin, a familiar voice called from across the office cafeteria. I looked up to see my cousin Sarah approaching. I just saw your post. Is it true about Aunt Deborah trying to take your house? It's true, I nodded. Want to see the rest of the evidence? For the next hour, Sarah looked through the documentation Reed and I had organized. Bank statements, text messages, emails, years of demands and manipulation laid bare. This is insane, Sarah shook her head. But you know what? It explains so much. Remember my wedding? London demanded I change my date because it conflicted with her vacation. And Mom made me convince you to do it, I remembered. I'm sorry about that. Don't be. Sarah squeezed my hand. But you should know, London's been calling everyone in the family, trying to gather support to challenge the will. She's telling people you manipulated Aunt Tricia. Let her try, Reed said firmly. We have proof. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Mom. Take down that video immediately. You're embarrassing the family. I showed it to Reed and Sarah. Should I respond? Absolutely, Sarah said. In fact, she pulled out her own phone and started typing. What are you doing? Posting my own story, she smiled. About how London made me change my wedding date, and how Aunt Deborah threatened to boycott if I didn't. I'm sure other family members have similar stories. She was right. Over the next few hours, the family group chat exploded with similar tales. Cousin Mike shared how London had demanded he give her his car because she needed it more. Aunt Patricia revealed how Mom had pressured her to invest in London's failed business venture. Then came the message I'd been waiting for, from Terence. Your mother's lawyer just called. They're backing down. The threat to contest the will has been withdrawn. I forwarded the message to Reed and Sarah. We did it. No, Reed corrected me. You did it. Your grandmother just gave you the tools. My phone rang, London again. This time I answered on speaker. How dare you post that video, she shrieked. Do you know what people are saying about me? Only the truth, I replied calmly. Everything in that video is documented fact. I'm your sister. You're supposed to support me. And you're supposed to support me too, I said. But you never have. It's always been about what you want, what you need. Not anymore. Mum was right, London spat. You've changed. You're not the sister I knew. Thank goodness for that, I replied, and hung up. Sarah stood up, gathering her things. I should go, but Robin, I'm proud of you, and I'm pretty sure Aunt Tricia is too, wherever she is. After she left, Reed turned to me. How are you feeling? Lighter, I said, realizing it was true. Like I can finally breathe. My phone buzzed one more time. Another family group chat message. This one from my elderly Aunt Rose. I just watched Tricia's video. That clever woman. She always said she was watching, always taking notes. Nobody believed her. Well done, Robin. Stand your ground. I smiled, thinking of Grandma's favorite saying. The truth always comes out in the wash. She'd planned it all, knowing exactly what would happen, knowing I'd need the whole family to see the truth to truly break free. Ready to head back to work? Reed asked. Actually, I said, I think I'm ready for anything. 1 week after the video went viral within our family, Mum showed up at my door. No warning, no text, just the sound of her car in my driveway at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. Reed, who'd come over to help me sort through more of Grandma's papers, tensed when we heard the doorbell. Want me to stay? He asked. I took a deep breath. No, I need to handle this myself, but maybe wait in the kitchen. Mom looked smaller somehow, standing on my porch. Her usual perfectly pressed outfit was wrinkled, and her eyes were red. I read the letter, she said without preamble. The one Mom, your grandmother, left for me. I stepped aside to let her in, noticing how she hesitated before entering, like she wasn't sure of her welcome anymore. Would you like some tea? I offered, more out of habit than anything else. No, she shook her head. I need to say something, and I need you to listen. We sat in the living room, the same room where she'd threatened to take my house just weeks ago. The blue vase still sat on its shelf, a silent witness. Your grandmother, Mum started, then stopped, her voice cracking. In her letter, she described watching me raise you girls. She said I'd created a monster in London and a martyr in you. I stayed silent, waiting. She wrote about every time I forced you to give up something for your sister. Every time I dismissed your dreams because London's needs came first. Mom's hands twisted in her lap. She kept a diary, did you know that? Every incident, every manipulation, all written down. I know, I said quietly. I've read it. Of course you have, Mom laughed bitterly. She left you everything, didn't she? All her secrets, all her plans. She trusted you, not me. Her own daughter. She loved you, I said. That's why she wrote the letter. Love? Mum's voice rose. She called me a bully, said I'd turned London into an entitled nightmare and you into a doormat. Said she was ashamed of what I'd become. From the kitchen I heard Reed shift slightly, probably straining to hear. Was she wrong? I asked. Mum's face crumpled. No, she whispered. That's what hurts the most. She wasn't wrong about any of it. She pulled something from her purse, a stack of papers. These are the bank statements, showing every penny London's borrowed from me over the years. Over $200,000, Robin. And that's just from me. Why are you showing me this? Because I enabled her, Mom said. Just like I enabled her to take advantage of you, and it needs to stop. I leaned forward. What are you saying? I'm saying... Mom took a shuddering breath. I'm saying I'm sorry. I'm sorry for threatening to take your house. I'm sorry for always putting London first. I'm sorry for not being the mother you deserved. A tear rolled down her cheek. Your grandmother's letter. She said she left you the house because you were the only one strong enough to break the cycle. She knew you'd stand up to us eventually, and she wanted to make sure you had the means to do it. She believed in me, I said softly. She was right to, Mum nodded. You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for. Stronger than me, certainly. She stood up abruptly. I've frozen London's access to my accounts. No more loans, no more bailouts. She needs to stand on her own feet. How did she take that? About as well as you'd expect. She's not speaking to me now. Mum smiled sadly. I suppose I deserve that. She moved toward the door, then paused. I don't expect you to forgive me. Not right away, maybe not ever. But I want you to know, I'm proud of you, for standing up to us, for being the person your grandmother knew you could be. Mom, I called as she reached for the doorknob. Would you like to come for dinner next week? Just us? She turned back, hope flickering across her face. I'd like that. After she left, Reed emerged from the kitchen. Well, that was unexpected. Grandma's last revenge, I said, picking up the blue vase and holding it to the light. She knew exactly what that letter would do to Mom. Knew it would force her to face the truth. Your grandmother was quite the strategist, Reed smiled. So, dinner with your mum next week? Baby steps, I nodded. But real ones this time. My phone buzzed. A text from London. Mum cut me off. This is all your fault. I showed it to Reed, who raised an eyebrow. Are you going to respond? No, I said, deleting the message. She needs to learn what Grandma tried to teach us all along, that real love doesn't come with conditions or demands. I placed the vase back on its shelf, thinking about how far I'd come, how far we all still had to go. Besides, I added, I have dinner plans to make. The autumn breeze rustled through the backyard as I set up tables for the family gathering. Reed arranged chairs while Mum fussed with tablecloths, trying to keep them from blowing away. Are you sure about this? Mom asked for the 10th time. Having everyone here? It's what Grandma would have wanted, I said, placing her framed photo at the center of the main table. Besides, it's time. We'd spent the past few months rebuilding our relationship over weekly dinners. Sometimes awkward, sometimes tearful, but always honest. Today would test how far we'd come. The doorbell rang. Sarah arrived first with her husband and kids, bearing casseroles and hugs. Then came Aunt Rose, Uncle Mike, and a steady stream of relatives I hadn't seen since the whole drama unfolded. Your grandmother would love this, Aunt Rose said, patting my hand. She always said this house needed more laughter. I was arranging the last of the food when Reed touched my shoulder. London's here. She stood at the gate, looking uncertain. Her clothes were simpler now, less designer labels, one of many changes since Mum cut off the money supply. Her kids peeked around her legs, waving shyly at me. I got your invitation, she said quietly. I wasn't sure. Come in, I said, holding the gate open. There's plenty of food. The kids ran to play with their cousins while London hovered at the edge of the gathering. Mom approached her cautiously, and I heard snippets of their conversation. Trying to find a job, and marriage counseling with Chad. You did good inviting her, Reed said, handing me a drink. She's still family, I shrugged, just not in charge anymore. Once everyone had filled their plates, I clinked my glass for attention. Thank you all for coming. Grandma always said family was complicated, messy, and worth fighting for, though maybe not in the way we've been doing it. Gentle laughter rippled through the crowd. She left me this house because she knew I'd need a foundation to stand on, but she left us all something more important, the truth, about ourselves, about each other, about what family really means. I raised my glass toward her photo. To Grandma Tricia, the cleverest woman I've ever known. To Grandma, everyone echoed. Later, as the sun began to set, I found London sitting alone on the porch steps. The kids miss you, she said softly. They keep asking when Aunt Robin will babysit again. London. No, let me finish, she interrupted. I've been seeing a therapist. She's helping me understand things about how I treat people, how I treated you. She twisted her hands together, a gesture so like Mom's that it made my heart ache. I'm not asking for money, she continued, or babysitting. I'm asking, can we try being sisters? Real ones this time? It won't be easy, I warned. I'm not going back to how things were. I don't want to go back, she said. Back wasn't good for either of us. From the yard came the sound of children laughing, plates clinking, family talking. Real talk, not the surface-level pleasantries we'd hidden behind for so long. We can try, I said finally. One step at a time. Reed appeared in the doorway. Sorry to interrupt, but Aunt Rose is insisting we take a family photo while the light's still good. We gathered around the table where Grandma's photo sat. Mum on one side of me, London on the other, Reed behind me with his hands on my shoulders. As Aunt Rose fiddled with the camera timer, I looked at Grandma's smiling face. 10 seconds, Aunt Rose called, hurrying to join us. In that moment, I felt it all, the weight of the past, the possibility of the future, the strength Grandma had seen in me all along, the strength that had always been there, waiting for me to claim it. Say cheese. The camera flashed, capturing us all together. Not perfect, not completely healed, but trying, really trying. Later that night, after everyone had gone home and Reed was helping me clean up, I found a note tucked under Grandma's photo. In London's handwriting, "Thank you for not giving up on me." "You okay?" Reed asked, seeing me read it. I looked around at my home where family could gather and heal, where truth could live alongside forgiveness, where I could finally be myself. "Yeah," I smiled, pinning the note to the fridge. "I really am." Through the window, I could see the blue vase catching the last light of day, and I swear I heard Grandma's voice on the breeze. "Well done, little bird. Well done.